I hope that if I ever travel 2,000 years into the future, there will still be bacon.
If you like to read, if you like to think, if you like to see the world differently, grab yourself a book, give this show a listen. Purple LitNerd gonna show you what you're missing.
Welcome to the Purple LitNerd podcast for June the 17th, 2018. I am your host, the amazingly adorable Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my new used desk in my apartment, which I call Jeffrey Thistlework. Yes, my coworker Rita and her husband Tony were cleaning out their storage unit and had some furniture that they didn't need anymore. So I got a new used desk. Yay! So before I go any further, I have to issue the usual spoiler alert. We're talking about the Druid Chronicles. I say we as though it's just more than me, but anyways, point being, talking about the Druid Chronicles. If you have not read the books by Kevin Hearne, go do it. And if you're a person who cares about spoilers, stop listening, because I'm going to be giving away some very key plot points in this show. Alright. So, Shattered, 7th book in the Druid Chronicles. If you will recall from Hunted, at the beginning of Hunted, the Morrigan sacrifices herself to the Olympian huntress goddesses, Artemis and Diana. But before she does, using her telepathic, psychopathic connection to Atticus, she tells him that there is someone that she placed on a time island in Tirnanoke that he's going to want to rescue. And she shows him where the island is and says, memorize it. And he says, okay. So adventures happen in Hunted. For more information, listen to last week's show. And then at the end of Hunted, he goes, oh yeah, there's that guy on that island. Oh, I better go get him. And so he does. With the help of Govnu and Fan, he rescues this person off the island. But we don't know who it is at the end of Hunted. At the beginning of Shattered, we learn who it is. It is Atticus's Archdruid. What is an Archdruid? This is the guy who taught Atticus everything about Druidry. This is the guy who taught him how to be a Druid, who bound him to Gaia, and all that stuff. And his name in Old Irish is Owen O'Kennedy, which modernizes and anglicizes into Owen Kennedy. So this is where the book begins, is with this. So I have to pause here after this earth-shattering revelation of the existence of another druid in the world. At this point in this novel, and actually until the next 3 novels really, there are 3 different points of view, and there are almost 3 separate adventures. So I'm going to sort of take it one at a time. We have Owen Kennedy has chapters that he narrates. We have Granuaile that has chapters she narrates, now that she is a druid bound to Gaia. And we have Atticus, of course, who's been narrating the whole thing up until now. But it's 3 different sets of storylines, which actually kind of simplifies it for me in the summary process. So I will start with Owen. And some of these stories intersect, and actually at the end, they all 3 sort of come together. So I'm going to get each storyline up to that and then end with the big epic finale, right? So Owen gets rescued from the Time Island, quote unquote rescued. Actually, retrieved would be more like it, because it's not like he was in any danger, right? So Atticus, with the help of Govnu and Thand, rescues Owen from the Time Island, or retrieves Owen off of the Time Island at the behest of the Morrigan. Atticus starts introducing Owen to modern civilization, takes him out to Flagstaff, gives him a huge dose of immortality, because when Owen was placed on the island, he was in his 70s. But with the help of Atticus's special immortality that keeps him young and in fighting shape, Owen chooses to shed off about 30 years. So he looks like he's in his early 40s as opposed to in his 70s. So after this, Atticus takes him to the barber, cleans him up, hooks up with the Flagstaff werewolf pack to get some pictures taken of Owen so that they can be sent down to Hal, Halk, and Tempe. And Hal's going to retrieve modern identification for Owen. And then after getting all this set up, Atticus and Owen go off to the French Pyrenees Mountains, obviously in France, so that Owen can repair Atticus's tattoos. If you'll recall, at the end of Hunted, Atticus gets into a little kerfuffle with a manticore and gets shot up with manticore venom, survives, obviously, but his tattoo that allows him to shape back to human gets damaged, so he can't shift into any of his forms. He can't shift to a wolfhound, he can't shift to an otter, because once he's in that form, he's never going to be able to get back, because he can't shift back to human. So tattoo needs to be repaired. So they spend about 2 weeks doing that, after which Atticus takes Owen back to Tempe to pick up his ID, and Owen spends some time with the pack in Tempe and discovers that he really likes werewolves a lot. And one werewolf in particular, Greta, really likes him back, so there's a little fun liaison that they have. But after spending the night with Greta, Owen realizes he has to go back to Tir na Nog and introduce himself to the Fae Court. But before he can do that, he has a private message he has to deliver to Breed, who is the first among the Fae, and for all intents and purposes, the ruler of Tir na Nog. And what this is the Morrigan put him on this Time Island, but before she did this, she told him, look, you need to give Breed this message once you're retrieved from this island. So here's the message that he gives Breed in the dead of night in Tir na Nog. It is as follows, that basically that the Morrigan is dead, and that all these other pantheons are getting really riled up about stuff and things, and that the only way to win the impending battle is to recruit the Svartalfar to their side at any cost. Who are the Svartalfar? I don't think I've ever explained this. The Svartalfar is the proper Norse name for the Dark Elves. I just like saying Dark Elves better, though. So, after giving this message to Breed, he presents himself to the Fae Court in the light of day and to the rest of the Tuatha and say, hey, look, I'm back. I'm a Druid of Gaia, and I will be doing stuff to protect the earth. And everybody goes, hooray! And they throw a big feast over at Monan and McLear's house in Tir na Nog. And Owen okay, let me back up a little bit. While repairing Atticus's tattoos, Atticus tells Owen basically the entirety of what we, the readers, have read in the first 6 books, so that Owen is up to speed with everything that has happened up to this point. And Atticus one of the many things that Atticus tells Owen is that somebody's trying to kill him, and somebody in Tir na Nog is orchestrating this assassination of him. And he sort of asks Owen to help him figure out who that could be. And Owen grudgingly agrees. So it is at this feast that Owen realizes who's been pulling all the strings, who's been recruiting the Svartalfar, the Dark Elves, to try and kill Atticus, who's been pointing the vampires in the right direction. As I've said before, vampires have their own vendetta against druids, but having someone in Tir na Nog going, see, look, druid, kill, that makes things easier on them. But after this feast, Owen has an epiphany and realizes what's going on. So he shifts to the cabin in Colorado where Atticus and Granuel are currently living, technically. And he says, hey, look, Atticus, guess who's behind it all? Fucking Fand. Fand is behind it all because she's the queen of the fairies. And the fairies, you've killed fairies over tons of them, hundreds of thousands, if not more, over the years while you were running from Angus Og, because Angus would send some fairies to check out where he was, and Atticus would kill them, and then Angus went, aha, yes, it was Atticus, I will go there and kill him myself, and then, by which point Atticus would have run again. But the point being is that over the years, Atticus has killed many a fairy. Most effectively since he has created his iron amulet and bound the iron to his aura, making him the Iron Druid. So there's that. And then there's resentment on Fan's part against Breed for being first among the Fae, even though Breed is really skilled with working iron, which is deadly to magical creatures. So Fan feels that she should be ruler of Tir na Nog. And so Owen has sort of deduced all this and tells Atticus, and Atticus goes, oh, what? And so they decide that the only way to be sure is to contact Mears. If you'll recall, there was a member of the Tuatha Dé Danann back in Hunted who was kind of shirty with Atticus and had a vendetta, but ended up dead at the end of the book. So the events of this conversation take place round about Samhain, which is the time of year, round about Halloween, when the veil between the living and the dead is thinner than ever. So Owen and Atticus, with the help of Monan and MacLear, do their little Samhain ritual, and they summon Mears, and they talk to him, and Mears says, yeah, fucking Fan killed me. And Monan and MacLear, being Fan's husband, doesn't really want to believe it, but in his heart of hearts, he knows it's true, because not only did Mears say this now during this ceremony, during this summoning, but Mears actually told him when Monanan escorted him to his afterlife, whatever that is, because I don't know if I've made this clear in the past, but Monan and MacLear, apart from being the Irish Celtic sea god, is also a psychopomp, which means he escorts the newly deceased from the land of the living to the land of the dead, right? Kind of like, who's that guy that takes you on the river Styx, or actually kind of like how the Morrigan was. You have two entities that do this in the Irish Celtic pantheon, but with the Morrigan dead, it's now down to Monanan. So anyways, Atticus says, okay, this makes sense, all this makes sense, but I'd rather talk to Fand and use diplomacy. And Owen, being Owen Kennedy, Atticus actually describes him at one point as having put the tank in Cantankerous. Owen wants to go in kicking arses. But Atticus wants to do diplomacy, and he says, you know what, if it comes to a battle, it'll come to a battle, but let's